You may be different, but you weren't woke. Hello and welcome to Emily's bedroom. It has been raining outside all day, so we're filming indoors. Let me just get the blog post up. Okay. So, this week's blog post is about advice for wannabe adventurers, specifically. So, I'm not a very active member of the Yes Tribe Facebook group, but I quite like being part of a group of adventurous people who are going out trying to make their lives a little bit more awesome every day. So, last week something caught my eye. It was a long post from a 23-year-old lady called Megan. And I've got the post here, and Megan, if you're watching this, I hope you don't mind me reading it out. So, she says, "Hello all you yes people, the best kind of people. My name is Megan. I'm 23 years old, and last year I became the youngest woman to run from John O'Groats to Land's End completely unsupported. I have a question for all of you wise people, a serious question of what life is all about, and I would really appreciate your advice and guidance. I'm trying to figure out what to do with my life. I've been fed up of this conception that I need to..." Let me try that sentence again. "I've been fed up with this conception that I need to now get a serious job where I'm earning serious money that I need to spend in a serious manner, get a flat or a house, and try to fit in that adventure time around a 9 to 5 job. Do I get a job in an office or as a primary school teacher, neither of which spark that joy and pure delight that adventure always does inside my soul, and settle with spending the majority of the hours in the week working, earning a living, doing something to earn money to live life adventurously? I have no idea what I want to do as a career, so do I settle with getting a job to earn money and spend my spare time enjoying these wonderful micro-adventures? Or do I get a job for a month or two and go off again? Do I go for a run around the coast relying on the kindness of strangers to provide me with accommodation? Do I journey across seas and continents, attempting to run or hike across as many countries as possible, seeking culture and experience, meeting people along the way, and living a life that lights the spark in my soul? Or is this just a silly idea of a naive 20-something-year-old? I've been reading a book called The Kindness of Strangers, and every single story tells tales of adventure and happiness and the kindness of people. None of them talk about having a career, having money to live. I'm lost and would really appreciate some honest opinions." And it continues a little bit after that. So this post rang really true with me because I have faced and am still facing these questions. There are so many choices and decisions and conflicting ideas. Plus I'm only 25 and a couple of years down the path from the junction that Megan's standing at right now. However, when I stood at that crossroads, I would have loved to have had some advice from someone else 2 years down the path towards adventure. It has been 2 years of fun and struggle and chaos, and I've learnt a heckload that I could pass on. So, not sure how I'll do this. Maybe I'll put titles in. Should I commit to full-time adventure? The big decision that we young adventurous folk face is, do I commit to full-time adventure? Do I run headlong into the unknown, even though this is probably against everything we've ever been told and against the will of our family members? This is extremely tough. Personally, I found the hardest bit was weighing up disappointing my family over being happy myself. That's why I'm in the compromise I'm in now. I have a fairly flexible job that allows me more time than normal to go off and do adventures. Remember, this is not a black and white decision. You can do both. You can take any combination of job and adventure that you can make work. If you don't like it, change it. This is not a rest of my life sort of a commitment. When I was 23, I'd cycled to Switzerland and back, an adventure I had to quit my job for. Immediately afterwards, I came back to nothing. No job, no adventure, no one who understood. Living with my parents, I felt pressure to do something that they saw as moving in the right direction. I was growing this blog, and I guess my sort of social online presence, But they and many others were expecting me to be getting a proper job or a career. I decided that I had to act, because the only thing certain about sitting at home not getting anywhere is that you're not getting anywhere. Just do something. It doesn't matter if you like it or not, or if it's right or not. You've done something, you've learnt something. Now you've got enough momentum to move on to the next thing. There is so much to say about this, so I'm going to revisit blog post, video at some point in the future. Watch this space. So some tips for making decisions. Tip number 1. If you can't decide between two things, flip a coin. Then notice your reaction to the outcome. If you're pleased, do it. If you're disappointed, do the option that you didn't just get on the coin. It's a great way to kind of trick your mind into telling you what it actually thinks. Use it all the time. Number 2, if you're using the word should in a sentence, then it won't bring you happiness. Number 3, it is very rare that you can't change your decision at a later date or redirect the path that you're taking. Getting a job now doesn't mean that you have to have it forever, or even for a year. Choosing adventure now doesn't mean you'll never be able to get a job either. Seriously, common misconception. I've been asked about my adventures in almost every job interview I've had. Tip number 4. They say that the opposite of happiness is sadness. Now, I got this from Tim Ferriss. Tim Ferriss says that the opposite of happiness is not sadness. They are like two sides of the same coin. The opposite of happiness is boredom, or being devoid of emotion. Think about that. Tip number 5. This is literally my motto, right? Have the courage to be yourself, the honesty to know what that self is, and then go out there and show the world what's possible. You'll notice all over my stuff it says, be yourself, know yourself, challenge expectations. I don't know how to do this either. None of them talk about having a career. Slowly, I have come to realise that I've learnt a lot from books. Let me just pan this way actually. Bookshelf. It's a floor-to-ceiling bookshelf, and I have 2 in this room, just to prove that I do learn a lot from books. So, learn a lot from books. Even more so from stories than books. None of the characters I liked in the books I read had jobs, except Sherlock Holmes, and even he was kind of freelance. Actually, so I've written here, check out my post about how to become an adventurer like Indiana Jones, because he also kind of has a job. And in that post I talk about how you can kind of fit job alongside adventure. Go check that out. I'll link it somewhere. So this is one of the reasons I've started my Adventure Careers series on my blog. This is, people are managing to fit adventure and having enough money to live together. That's a really badly written sentence. What I mean is that somehow people are managing to have adventures and also be able to afford to live, and they're fitting these two things together and achieving it somehow. And we need to remove the mystery from how to do it, or make it clearer what supports our adventures. Does that person posting on social media have a full-time job too? Or if not, how are they doing it? How have they got to where they are? Again, I'll link the interview series somewhere, so you can check that out on my blog. I'm also trying really hard to share my journey towards a more adventurous life through this blog and my social media and like all over the place. So give me a follow to see how I get on. Is this just a silly idea of a 20-something-year-old? So my answer is yes, absolutely. It's a completely crazy, unreasonable idea to want to be a professional adventurer. It's crazy to have a stint in a job and then a stint in adventure alternately. And of course your colleagues are going to think you're nuts for wanting to sleep on a hill or cycle to work in the rain. The question is, what are you going to do about it? It's silly to want to be an astronaut over the age of 7, and yet there are adult astronauts. Of course, I'm also a naive 20-something-year-old saying this, but I genuinely believe that anything is possible if you're prepared to chase after it. Sure, the chase is going to be hard work, you're going to get ridiculed for trying, you'll get beaten and you'll run into dead ends, but that's far better than living with the what if, or at least that's what I think. You may be different, but you won't work that out without trying something. And to finish, I've got a quotation basically from Apple. It's either from Rob Siltanen, butchering the pronunciation, sorry about that, or Steve Jobs. It seems variously attributed amongst the internet, but here we go. Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them. Because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do. Now go out there and change the world.